Manda.
I'm here. Can you?
Hello. Hi. Yes, now I see you. Hi, Manda.
Hi. So, I was going to start. Firstly, thank you for this opportunity. It's really been a great opportunity. Pull myself out of all things that sometimes do bog me down and reconnect with this whole aspect of my future self. And for me, it's not about visions, and it's not about kind of, you know, description of what the physical world or how the world will be, and perhaps making even these definite statements that it's going to be like this or it's going to be like that. For me, the most fascinating thing is the vibration and the energy. And what I'm really hearing the Murli a bit differently as well. And all the words that used to just pass me by, they don't pass me by so much anymore, because what it does, it makes me ask the question of, do I really recognize this? Like even today, Baba said that Srimat, what was it? I wrote it, Srimat, when you follow Srimat, you claim elevated state.
That's right. Yeah.
Now you might think, well, you hear that every day almost, and that Srimat is the most elevated. And then I think the next line, Baba goes on to say that when you follow, it's by following Srimat that Krishna became what he became. And so it's like every single day sentences. And now I stop to ask myself the question, how much do I really have the awareness of how elevated Baba's instructions are that I follow? But of course, within this aspect of Srimat, it's not about the physical aspect of following Srimat. There is that too, but the fundamental Srimat that Baba talks about, and it's a Srimat that applies to everyone across the board. It's not a Srimat that, you know, some aspects of Srimat, Baba says, are according to your karmic situations. But this particular Srimat is not according to your karmic situation. And that's the one, that one single one, be soul conscious and remember me alone. It's the ultimate Srimat, absolute Srimat. It's Srimat that applies to every single one of us. And so, you know, when you think about it in terms of what is this power of soul consciousness? Because for me, the other aspect of fascination is this, that what I experience here, what I practice here, what I sense here is what goes with me in the future. And in actual fact, it's not about physically describing what something is going to be like in the future, but it's tapping into that energy, tapping into that vibration today, and taking ownership of that today. And so this has been my experiment more and more. But what I want to add and see, I'd be interested in this to hear from you, Waddy, and that is that I sometimes get myself bogged down into things that are in front of me, and what these experiences are now doing for me is I feel like I feel a yearning, more of a yearning or a longing. Actually, I'm using the word yearning because Charlie used it this morning, but I use the word longing, this sense of longing for these experiences to be, or these feelings to be more prevalent and present in a real way. But I find myself getting often bogged down in what's around me and what's happening, or even my own old sanskars, not just even, but especially my own old sanskars, or things that bind me. And so, you know, these gatherings, these opportunities, I suppose, pull me out of that. I really enjoyed being in the group this morning, and all the things that were bogging me down. I'm thinking, why am I thinking those things? Why am I allowing those things to bother me when I can just play with this? And so I think this journey and listening to Baba's Murli in this way helps me more to reconnect with that again and again. But I know that it's more and more about paying attention. More and more making that alive.
Yeah, that point struck me this morning too, where Baba was saying that it depends, that status is dependent on how much you follow directions. He also said it was dependent on study. And like you, I particularly want to thank, and I don't know who else, but I think Petra and Trish for coming up with this particular project, which is too gross a word for it. I could never have anticipated it. If someone had told me about it or tried to encourage me, I feel I found it accidentally. And it has been such an amazing thing. It's almost like, you know, how sometimes there may be something on the path and you either don't notice it or you pass it by, but it's like it was a gift for you. And so you pick it up and you realize the value of it, and not everyone else will necessarily. But I really feel it's been like a gift and taking me into an experience that I wouldn't have otherwise had. And I would suggest that where you say there's this longing, and what was the other word you used? Yearning. I think it could be something different. It could be part of it, but the feeling, having done this project, is that time is so very close. And I think that that's what's creating the feeling that it's because time is close. In the same way as I often say, and of course, being in Europe, you would understand it more. I don't have the experience of it here in Florida, but in terms of the seasons. And so just like now, we're about to come into autumn again. And generally people would start feeling, oh, I'm looking forward to the short evenings, to being indoors, putting on my warm clothes again. That as the season is approaching, you start having a feeling for it. And that's the feeling that I have. I've never felt Satyug or that state that Baba speaks about as being so close. And the other thing, for me, I agree too that it's about the vibration, it's about the energy, but relationships, connections, communication, as I say, that's part of who I am now. It will be part of who I am there too. And it's amazing when you think about it. When Baba would have spoken this Murli, today's Murli or yesterday's, which was also to do with status in the Golden Age, that at that time, you know, who apart from Baba and Mama had any semblance of status? The work hadn't even fully begun. There was no question of world service, of other religions or anything else. What would they have had to look at? But now you can actually see what he's talking about. We've had such examples in front of us and continue to have examples in front of us. But where you really can, even from the point of view of your head, you can see what Baba's talking about. And I doubt that they could have seen it back then. Mm. So that's one of the things for me.
Yeah, I think, well, actually, what you remind me of is something that Charlie said this morning, which was very beautiful, actually. And that is that he was saying that what he's feeling more and more nowadays is that it's how our minds and process that's going on inside our minds and in our hearts are manifesting all the things that are happening in the world. Whether it's Black Lives Matters or all the discrepancies that are going on in the world. I mean, it seems like it's a negative thing, but actually it's bringing everything to the surface. And it's also happening because of the shifts that are happening inside our own minds and the closer we come. But I like what you say, Waddy, because I have a little bit of this tendency to think that I've got to make effort for things, whereas you're saying that it's time and it's going to happen. You just let it happen instead of me. Well, am I doing the right thing, or am I? What should I be doing? What more should I be doing? But I think that this element is very important, And we hear about it, and I suppose I know the theory of it, that it's time, it's God, it's my fortune. All of these things are culminating right now. Are they working collaboratively right now to make things happen for me? And I think that all of us need to become, I need to become more aware of that. It's happening, and I just have to go with the flow. But you know, I was saying this morning also that sometimes it's like there is a mold that you have been in for a very long time, and you want to be out of that mold, but
Yeah.
everybody else keeps putting you in that mold because that's what's needed right now.
Yeah.
Continue to play the role that you've always played. This is an interesting thing for me because I'm finding that I'm having, there's a part of me that resists that. And, but again, I think the more there is this feeling of going into this state, so then that I need to let go of or the resistance will go, the more there is this attraction that I allow myself to be drawn to this attraction. Then the resistance to the things that I feel no longer apply to me anymore, those will kind of subside, because I'm sure all of us find ourselves in that state, because our karmic bondages, our sanskar, for everyone else it might be something else. For me it might be, well, my sanskars as well as my bond of service, if you like, and for other people it must be something else that kind of keeps drawing you back. But I think I have to allow this attraction to grow so much inside me that falls away.
Yeah, that it doesn't matter where you are or what role, I'm speaking theoretically now, that it doesn't matter. Often we'll try and change the circumstances, you know, the scenario or the co-actors or the locale, the stage that I'm on or whatever. We think by changing those things, things will change. But of course we all know that doesn't change things. But it's something else that has to change, and I suppose you're right. So what do we choose instead of resistance? And so it's about embracing something, isn't it? It's about acceptance, and it's about knowing at some level that you set it up in such a way, and it also would indicate that I must still have some attachment. It's easier to be the old thing. I think it's still easier, even though I complain about it. But I still think it's easier to be the old thing than the new thing, you know?
The thing that comes...
And then you're like, wait a minute, just like you're saying, that for you, what you're interested in the golden age is the energy, right? So put this whole thing you've been talking about in the context of energy, and how would it work?
Mm. And I suppose what comes to mind, and one thing that comes to my mind, I think for all of us to journey towards that, is patience. Patience stands out because I'm also associating patience not as a quality of the golden age, but graciousness,
Yeah.
Quality, and
yes.
Graciousness and patience along
it's
this.
also what you're doing in a sense with patience, you're giving permission.
Yeah.
You're giving permission to time and to circumstances and maybe to other people. And I would say for me too, that lack of patience sometimes, not necessarily in all of the big things, but in the small things, that's what can get in the way too. Yeah.
And so,
yeah. What of the things that Gentiban was saying struck you? I think the one that struck me was eating, in that sense that we would never eat alone in the golden age, you know, and this for me has been a theme throughout, and I hope that it wasn't misconstrued, because I'm still always leaning towards individuality and uniqueness. And although I will maintain my individuality and my uniqueness, but bigger than that will be the harmony or the concern with everybody else. It won't be about proving my uniqueness or my difference, but it's knowing that you are, but yet the care will be for the whole community or kingdom, whatever it is. And this is also the other thing that it's been really intriguing me recently. And of course, I would have to say this is another gift that this project has given me. I like to churn, and this has given me a lot of new things to churn about. And so this idea, and I think we mentioned it on Wednesday, of, you know, what is it? What are those things, apart from what you've mentioned, but to kind of know them, that will make someone an emperor? And we know at least three emperors. And what will make somebody an empress? I think I know two. And what will make somebody a king? And what will make somebody a queen? And what will make somebody a princess? You know, like Baba said today, that there's no question of the subjects having a temple, right? That was one of the things he said. And for me, maybe I'm not going to have a temple because I don't have an interest in a temple. But what the Golden Age gave me, the experience of the Golden Age gave me, was that it'll be the stars. It'll be something in nature that will be our memorial. And that it will be, yeah, very powerful experience of each one has their own star up there. that will be the memorial. I don't see it in terms of an image of marble or something like that. And so what are these things that will create, not that on the one hand, I was thinking in one of our exercises today that I always have an interest in who's who. It's not from the point of view of status or anything, but wherein you intuitively know, I mean, who's who in the deeper sense of the word, not in terms of their title, so that you intuitively know what to give and what to receive, what can be received, what can be given. That's something that I always find interest in. And so in the Golden Age too, you know, that it'll be, I still feel that there'll be that ability, that this will be one of the things that will be carried, and each one knows for herself or himself what they're going to carry there. And not everybody has an interest in everybody else to the same extent. So I think it will still be there in the Golden Age, you know, that others won't necessarily be like that. They will have their own speciality. They will have their own field of interest. So I think there's still so very many things that we can churn about in terms of the Golden Age and in relation to the Confluence Age.
Yeah, but I think that what is different about this churning for me is that it's the churning that comes through this. In a sense, part of me is awakening the memories of it.
Yes.
But also, Golden Age Baba is, God's not going to exist there, but everything that exists there is a manifestation of God.
Absolutely.
And so actually, you know, the more soul conscious I become, and the more my connection with Baba is so incredibly subtle and present and real, then it's as if I get informed.
Yes.
What it would be like in the future, what Golden Age will be like, what is God's relationship with nature and elements today is absolute authority, superiority, but not in a way that we understand superiority, in the way that the greatness of God remains present for everything and for everyone.
Yeah.
Nature, elements, and matter and souls and everything. And that in the golden age, because God's not there as deity souls, we are the ones who are, in a sense, that authority. And that as a result, this alignment with everything, and the quality that comes to my mind when you talk about who's going to be emperors and who's going to be empresses, I'm not going to go there, but the one quality feels so especially for an emperor, is generosity, big-heartedness, benevolence. What else are we doing right now at the confluence age but in, not inculcating, allowing naturally to allow the benevolence to emerge within us. And so I think these kinds of tastes of the energy, of the vibe, that automatically, in a sense, puts our mind into that place.
Yes.
Somehow you get informed about that. And that's why that resonance then, that feeling of resonance becomes more real rather than, this is going to be that or this is going to be there. Perhaps, as maybe for me, as I progress further in and I totally identify with that feeling, then I will be okay and I feel comfortable with saying, well, no, this is going to be like this and this is going to be like that. Today, Baba talked about this marriage, Swayamvar, and I looked at the word, Swayamvar, and what it says in the explanation, actually, and it talks about in the scriptures a lot in India, is that when the girl comes of age, she looks for a bridegroom amongst the eligible young men. And so, when Baba uses Swayamvar, Swayam means self, Var means bridegroom. And so the girl, Swayamvar, she chooses. She chooses. And this is very interesting. How does that work? I mean, I don't know if anybody ever thought about marriage situation of the golden age.
Yeah, that's, I mean, one of the things that as a non-Hindu really struck me, not only when Baba has said that it would be the female who chooses, and in the same way he says it's Lakshmi's name that comes first before Narayan's. Don't you love Baba for this? That thing you're talking about, I think we were talking the other day about the laws of the golden age, and I think one of them, and all the laws already exist here. It's just that they're manifest there in their idealized form, in their highest form, their Satapradhan form. And so another law, I think, is that of intuition.
Yes.
And so we know it growing in us now. And I sometimes feel, and not least since the beginning of COVID, that that Baba's giving us these little tasters, if you like, a little taster of what it's going to be like there. It's almost like as if the rewards, some rewards that you wouldn't even have thought about, are reaching you now. But again, not to use them or misuse them or abuse them, or to feel this, I deserve this, or this is my right. But it's like, oh, Baba, in the same way that I was thinking, not fully formed, but it was only in the last day or two, to do with Daddy's leaving. And I wonder, okay, this might be a bit fanciful, but if in her leaving, that she helped liberate us from something in our, whether karmic or conscious, I'm not talking about a relationship with her, that wasn't, liberation wasn't needed there, but that something by her leaving, by her being, and Baba, it was touched on today, maybe Daddy Kamarka's points that we were reading, to do with like the ultimate renunciation, which is what I would associate with those who become the emperors, but that it's almost like in her becoming free, and we're so connected to her, that there was some freedom for us too. I don't know if others feel that. I didn't really feel it until, I mean, the last few days. And I think that's part of what we're doing now in terms of what Charlie was speaking about too, that we are connected with everything that's happening at the minute, but our work, if you like, is to be the benefactor, because people, in the same way that we're approaching, if we're near to the golden age, then it means every other soul on the planet is near to liberation. And so that by our adherence to the directions, as Baba said, then you're helping to free them, you know, to give them some kind of relief from those last strings. And the thing that for me is very pervasive in this, that I see the world leaning to, but we haven't spoken about it very much, and I'm not 100% clear on it, is to do with truth. That somehow people are, it's not a question of reaching for happiness, you know, or love or any of those things. Truth. People want the truth. Did I lose somebody?
No, I'm just
Sorry.
thinking, you just threw that in at the end. People want really?
Yeah. If you're talking about Black Lives Matter, you know, and fine, it'll come up with words like justice and what have you, but it's to do with now finally the truth that was never acknowledged, that was never accepted, is starting to appear. Everything is so full of untruth and deception at the moment, like Baba speaks about politics, religion, science, all of those things that we can't look to them anymore and expect, let alone truth. We can't expect honesty. We can't expect integrity. And so I think that truth as being a basic component of the soul, the original nature of the soul, that there is a hunger. I mean, I know my sisters and brothers who are with us now, that many of them in their quest, what they were looking for was truth. And so it's no less so for everybody else. And so, but mainly that thing that if I'm getting towards liberation in life, the rest of the world must be getting towards liberation.
That's good.
So how can we help free them?
I agree with that. And but then also when you speak about truth, my question then becomes the difference between the definition of truth today and the definition of the truth that will manifest itself in the future. What's the difference? There is a difference. Is there a difference?
No, truth is truth. Truth is truth.
How do you define
right.
truth? How do you
truth is truth. Well, as Daddy might have defined it, that which is eternal.
What does it mean? Practically, what does it mean?
That is, well, again, I think it's that place we're not talking about, because there's a big difference between facts and truth.
Absolutely.
Facts are not necessarily truth. And so what's real, what's authentic, what's, in other words, it has to be connected with that which is immortal and that which is eternal. And it's a knowing, it's a sensing, it's not about information.
So really what that means is that truth can never really exist in the Iron Age. Truth can never, I agree, I'm trying to tap into the energy of this thing,
right.
of the eternal, of that. And so unless there is soul consciousness, unless there is the awareness of spirituality, you can't possibly understand truth. And so, you know, Matthew used to say this, hang on a second, Matthew used to say this, blow the whole thing up and start all over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everything was such a mess to try and get people to understand truth.
No, it's not a thing of words ultimately. And so it's like where, you know, knowledge is the means to get to it. You know, what is the truth of who I am? And you can't ultimately separate truth and purity. You know, and it's there in the golden age. And that's also an interesting exercise. What is truth, you know, going to get me in the golden age? What is, study going to get me in the golden age, but truth in that sense of, for people, I would imagine that truth is kind of fact-based, is to do with what is real and what isn't. And so just like, someone, a child may be hungry for food, but in the absence of real nutrition, they will go for something that is less than nutritious. Maybe you can go for something that's the opposite. And so in the same way that, you have to, surely, if truth is the original nature of the soul, there has to be a longing for it. There has to be. So I won't try and define it, only insofar as I know there's a desire, a pure desire for it from humanity.
No, I'm remembering, actually, maybe it's not relevant, but the fact that I'm remembering, I'm going to say it, that Daddy used to say, had said it, that at the end, all souls go back home with the awareness that God is their Father. Ultimately, all souls go back, and that's why when they come back down again, the memory of God is still there, because they go with this thought that God is my Father.
Yeah.
I mean, but in the context of truth, in a sense, when you get into religion and this,
yeah.
and truth goes out of the window, really. But when there is that, then, and Baba said today, actually in the golden age, there is only one religion.
Yeah. Yeah. And others wouldn't understand that.
Yeah.
One religion. And it's truth, not by comparison.
No.
Yeah. There was some interesting words popped up there as we were talking, Manda. Others eager to, I saw truth means liberation. Somebody said scrutiny. That's an odd word. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody else.
Hey, Judy.
Truth is I am and God is. That's it. Somebody says. So I'm just. Are you able to read those messages on your screen, Manda?
Nice.
Yeah.
I am God is. Yes, that's it. But I'm aware
I am that I am.
I'm aware that we mustn't say them as information that we know.
That's the point. That's not it. That's not it.
Information that we know. It has to be with this deepest feeling and a sense of it. Then it's really truth. But if you speak it I'm not saying you, whoever's saying it, I'm not saying that you do.
Yes.
Pointing that out, that we must not see that information.
Yeah. No. It's a knowing. It's a knowing, isn't it? Not a, as you say, not information. Somebody that disappeared there, the etymology is what?
The etymology of the word truth in Greek means the negation of forgetfulness.
Oh, how interesting.
Aletheia. Lethe means forgetfulness in mythology. Lethe is the mother of all negative things and evil. That's from Drusilla in Greece. Lovely Drusilla.
How did the Greeks get to be so clever?
Oh, they're so amazing, aren't they?
Yes. Aren't they just?
And Astrid saying it's pure intent. Yeah, lovely. I'm wondering, the two of you, as we're coming towards our conclusion, I'm wondering, in all of the beautiful things you've just shared in front of us, with us, I'm wondering, in the early part of your conversation, the difference between sort of accepting the deityness that's inevitable in me versus striving to become it. And that was something the two of you talked about early in this conversation, because truth is inevitable. And so what am I feeling within me that is true, that is emerging as that deity at this time, rather than struggling to emerge it? If this is the time. Any thoughts on that to offer us as we come to a conclusion?
I think it's really about noticing. For me, Baba is actually the setup that Baba has created is a setup to allow the memory to emerge. Mm-hmm. And we just have to be more and more conscious of this everything, whether it's Amrit Vela, whether it's sitting in class, in the gathering, whether it's eating Brahma Bhojan, or the awareness of God feeding us, all of these things, how much dignity. Somebody sent me a video today, actually. It's a video of Dadi Kumarka. It's a song, and it's a Dadi Kumarka video. And because of all of these, today's things are in my mind, this feeling was, oh man, in the days of the Daddies, we felt golden age here with so much tangible love, and tangible feeling of graciousness, but this elevated, they looked at us with so much elevated vision, and we felt so elevated. And I think that we have to learn to create that for ourselves and for each other now. And that's it. We really have to learn to do that. And it's baby steps, but those baby steps are very powerful steps. And seeing that the things that get in the way of that, just setting them aside.
Anyway, I'd like to
final words on that one.
On that one, no, I'd just like to think, that, you don't know where exactly the tipping point is. And maybe being the eternal optimist, I think it's close. And so some things it's that thing again where Baba uses the image of the snake shedding its skin, that it's a natural process, and that there will come a time, I know there will, when the skin of whatever the vice is will release me, in a sense. And so once again, it's that whole thing, a little bit like the exercise you did the other day, Judy, of the do's and the don'ts. And so turning that around, where it's not about flagellating yourself for what you're not doing, but rather focusing on, something that's, as they say, life affirming, or is giving energy, rather than, because there's such a habit of reprimanding yourself, criticizing yourself, justifying yourself, whatever it happens to be. And so I think the thing that Baba has given us that makes the difference, as well as something like this, but is meditation. And so that you can, even sometimes it feels like an escape into another reality, and you can just say Om Shanti, full stop. That, you don't have to think about the things of here anymore, that you just go there, and that in itself is a cleansing. It's like, okay, tomorrow we'll start again.
I see it on your face as you speak of it, Waddy. It's like you're there. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
What's your thought, Judy? What's your thought?
My thought is just to watch on a daily basis for the subtle deity essence that's there. I'm still living in the extension, which is my personality, but the extension comes from the essence. And I just feel like every day I see or feel a little bit of it. It's such a little glimmer, but that's where my attention is going, is to really honor that, as small as it might be. It is of the deity, shall I say, of the deity. Yes. It's in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Beautiful.
So I'm going to say thank you to both of you for holding court in such a royal way.